Welcome to Alternative Dog Moms Podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, the creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. For the past 9 years, I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I started raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott. For the past 9 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself, and I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned on this journey. As the Alternative Dog Moms, we're bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and sharing the tips, tricks, and resources we learn along the way. Now, let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin. And I'm laughing because Thomas, hello.
Yes. Yeah, he wasn't going to give us an Angie and play right in.
I know, exactly. How's it going?
Oh, it's going over here. We've had a week. My poor Penny has a UTI.
Oh.
And I guess it started about maybe like 2.5 weeks ago. She had a couple accidents in the house, and that's, so unlike her, right? So I took a sample over to our vet, a first morning sample, and she thought everything looked pretty good. Like, she didn't see anything that gave her cause for concern. So we were like, well, we'll just watch her for, a few days. And then she didn't have any more accidents for like 10 more days. And then the end of last week, she started having some accidents again. So I took another sample over yesterday, and Penny came to work with me so we could go to the vet. And sure enough, it's definitely, a UTI. And, that's what had started a lot of her health issues a couple years ago. And so I get super nervous about wanting to give her any kind of antibiotics. So this is sort of our plan, I guess, is that we started immediately with there's actually like a Chinese herbal formula that's like for acute urinary tract infections. So she's on that, and she's on some cranberry support. What I think we're going to do is my vet can rent us an ozone machine, and she's going to teach us how to use it. And she wants us to give ozone like 3 times a week to Penny to help support her immune system, help support her bladder. So we've never done that before, and I'm a little intimidated by any kind of like machinery. And you have to have like an oxygen tank, which is, they can be like somehow flammable or something. So the whole thing just kind of intimidates me. So I really need Tim to pay attention.
I'm excited about that because I wish I would have done something like that with Scout. I mean, it's sort of like, I've heard there's a phrase for it, Monday morning quarterbacking,
right.
Everything that I did. And I know about the ozone treatments, and I just saw something on YouTube about it recently. And I was like, I wish I would have looked more into that.
So I think that's how we're going to handle it. And then like, if that does, like, if it's like 2 weeks from now and we're not seeing any improvement, so we're going to do a recheck in like 2 weeks. And obviously I'm going to keep looking for, is she having any accidents? And, she also, like, when she would go outside where she would normally just squat down and pee and be done and come in, she would kind of be squatting like 3 or 4 different times and places. So I'm looking for all of these things to see if that kind of starts clearing up. And if in 2 weeks that behavior isn't better, and if we recheck in 2 weeks, then we'll consider using the antibiotics, but definitely sending it out for the sensitivity test first. Right. And then immediately doing, once she's done that course, following it up with the animal biome. So we have I have like a whole kind of almost like a flow chart, a diagram of kind of like how we're doing this. And then she had also sent out some blood work, and I guess one of her, I'm going to butcher the word probably. Is it creatinine, or it's one of the kidney values was a little bit higher. It was higher than like that, what it should have been. It wasn't like crazy, oh my God, kidney failure high, but just, So we're going to just like be doing some additional kidney support. So I actually got like a kidney glandular that I was going to start adding in. Just, she's getting older, my girl's getting older. So I want to make sure we're doing all the things. So
yeah. I need to take my dogs in, all of them. I want to get them blood work before the end of the year. I don't know how it's going to happen with Apollo. I mean, I always underestimate my veterinarian, the veterinarian team. They're so amazing with him. and with all of our dogs. And I'm always like, they're probably not going to let you do the blood. And they're like, watch this. And they take them away and come back. And it's like, yep, we got it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I need to do that. And I want to also have them all tested with animal biome before the end of the year too, just to see where everyone's at.
And, the other thing that was really interesting, just, I love these vets who learn all these things, right? So, we know that Penny has some arthritis going on, some like hind end weakness. And, and I've talked before about how she has lost some of her hearing because she had a medication reaction. Well, I have felt like over the last couple months that her hearing has gotten worse. Mm-hmm. And I know she's not totally deaf, and she does respond to certain things, but like there's other times when she doesn't respond at all or doesn't notice things at all. So apparently in Chinese medicine, like the hearing loss, the hind end weakness, the kidney, the UTI, like that's kind of all of a pattern in Chinese medicine. So she's looking into like some herbal formulas to kind of change up what we're doing a little bit to kind of support all of that. Mm-hmm. So it's also always interesting that the last couple years, at this specific August, September time of year, she seems to start having some kind of issue. In the past, it was like with her skin and her feet, but there's something about like, when with the Chinese medicine and the seasons changing and the elements, like she seems to struggle around this time. And it seems like, well, we've got the skin stuff and the feet stuff has been more under control. So now it's kind of like popping out in other ways. So anyway, it's just been interesting that this all sort of fits patterns in Chinese medicine also, which I just love and geek out on all that stuff.
Yeah. So far, our dogs are doing good. Apollo's butt has cleared up, but I'm still going to be doing the anti-itch spray for another couple of weeks. Well, it won't be done for the next 4 days. So we'll see when I come back Sunday what his butt looks like. I know Johan will do as much as he can. It's just that I'm here with them all day, every day. So it's easier for me to do a lot of things. But I took him to the vet to check on his butt, and it was already looking good, but she could still see that where there was hair loss and the skin was a little darker, and it's actually gotten lighter since our vet appointment. But what's funny is that, she was like, yeah, this is great. What are you doing on it? And I gave her the recipe for my anti-itch spray, which is, 2 cups of brewed green tea, 3 to 4 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and like 10, 15 drops of lavender oil. And I shake it up before every spray. And I spray it on his butt like twice a day. And it does give him relief. Like if I notice him going to town back there, I'll just go get the spray and it gives him some relief. But she said that it's actually a condition that she said that she mostly sees in huskies. And I asked her to send me some information on it. And when I was reading up on it, they say that it's actually common in German Shepherds. But I don't remember the name of it, and it's something that is hard to pronounce. But when I was reading up on it, I was just like, are you sure this is what he has? Because what she sent to me sounded horrible. And not like it was like an anal gland skin pustule type of issue. And I guess it's one of those where it can get to that level. And what he had was the very, very beginning stages. So it's probably going to be something that I'm going to have to monitor with him just to make sure he's okay. But I was worried that it was like, is it a yeast thing? And she was like, no, this isn't yeast. So I'm happy about that.
Oh, that's good. So you just reminded me of something that I had almost forgot about genetic things. So a friend of mine has a dog. They is in the Australian Shepherd family. Mm-hmm. And, it was kind of rescued from like a farm breeding kind of operation. So this is my friend Mindy. Hi, Mindy. I know she listens. And so Mindy's dog Juniper got a rabies vaccine a couple months ago and ended up having like a reaction, like a big lump and a big time reaction. And it's under control now, but it got her concerned. And she started working with, a more holistic integrative type vet who mentioned something called MDR1.
Yes.
So I had never heard of this before. So Mindy had a genetic test done for this gene. And sure enough, her dog does have this MDR1 gene, which is like a sensitivity to drugs. It's like multi-drug sensitivity.
Zoe does. So does
Scout.
Oh,
okay.
And actually, if people do the Embark Vet test,
that's what she did. So I had never heard of this before. As you know, we have pit bull dogs, and it's not common in those kind of dogs. But I was just curious, like how many people, your dog, it can be reactive to antibiotics, it can be reactive to vaccines. And I think about all these different drug, reactions that we hear about. And if this is something that's on a lot of people's radar, and I had never heard of it before. And so I was like, thank you, Mindy, for this education.
I don't even know how I came across it. I honestly don't, because I didn't know about it with Rodrigo. But when Zoe and Scout came along, I did know about it and knew to ask about it. So, when I took them in, like for their spay neuter surgery, I asked them, can you please test for this? So they knew what drugs
right, for anesthesia, right.
Mm-hmm. And also, it was also came up with Scout's chemotherapy.
Okay.
So, and that's why I sent the Embark, because I was going to have to pay for all these tests. And I was just like, Embark Vet does all these things. And so I sent it, and she was actually able to get a lot of information from the health test that I got from Embark. And she was like, I'm going to start recommending this to other people, because, you get the breed stuff, but you get this whole, the Embark one it's so much fun. Yeah, it's expensive, but thankfully there are plenty of holidays in the year, so you can always wait for a holiday and buy a kit. But it has, it basically just with Scout's chemotherapy, I saved about a few $100 in testing because of the Embark Vet. So it was worth it.
Yeah, I have never done any of the genetic testing just because I don't know, like to me, it doesn't matter to me like what their breeds are or whatever. But yeah, when I realized how much health information, I think I might end up doing it just because, that I'll pay for, And
it's, oh, and my gosh. And when you do that, you're going to have you're totally the type of person that will love it. And in fact, if I remember, I'll send you one of my tests so you can see. Oh, I don't think I have it printed out. No, I think that one, I just look at it online. But it has like a wolf factor to it, where it tells you like how much wolf your dog has.
Oh, interesting.
And it tells you, based on your individual dog's genetic, like what their weight is supposed to be. It tells you all kinds of stuff about your dog. It's very similar to 23andMe. In that, and I'm sure other DNA tests are the same, but I did 23andMe for myself, but that it's constantly connecting you with other dogs, both dogs that are the exact same breed mix, but also relatives. So I've connected with people who, like Rodrigo and Sydney, were rescued from a hoarding in Oregon. And I've connected with other people that got dogs from that same hoarding.
Oh, wow.
So they're siblings, but they're very close cousins. So so I've been able to connect with that. And it's also for me, it's kind of cool because if you can connect with people, especially for those of us who have mixed breed dogs, you can see how the other dogs are doing. Because I think that's telling. But yeah, there's so many, I can go on and on. There's so many really cool things about it. And I go in and I check it. I used to check it all the time. Every time I got a notification, I was in there like, oh, what am I going to learn today? Now I'm just sort of like, eh. And I was hoping to connect with any of Apollo's siblings, but I guess they know what breed mix their dog is, so they don't feel the need to do an Embark Vet. But, maybe over time when more people see the benefits of the health aspect of it, they'll check it out. But, those are the type of things that I love about it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. See, if they sold it like that, I'd have bought it by now.
I know. It is. It's really kind of cool just to see just the personality aspects of your dog, just the things that you can look for, the carriers that your dog might have. And it does a good job of explaining things. It's a lot of fun, but and they don't email you all the time. In the beginning, it felt like I was getting an email a lot, but now it's just like probably once a month or so, I'll get an email about one of the dogs. When I had, I have to actually go in and post or make Scout so that he's deceased, so they won't continue emailing me about Scout. But I don't have, there's not a whole lot with Scout and Zoe. I actually really thought that I would connect with people that got a litter or got a puppy from that same litter, but I never did because they are a plethora of breeds in these two dogs and not what the people told us they were, not even close. But that's okay. We love them. They're perfect. But it is kind of fun just as they break it down. And I found that it is probably the best DNA test on the market. There's so many. And I've tried 3 of them, I think. I think the second best would probably be Wisdom Panel. But it's far, like as far as, comparison, it's like this, like really different because Wisdom Panel doesn't give you the health part. Mm. But the more people who do it, the more accurate it becomes. So it's really cool.
Ooh, speaking of reports, Did you see Animal Biome's State of the Gut report?
No, I did not.
So this was kind of interesting. It seems like when you log in and do your Animal Biome kit, it'll like ask you some different questions. And so they've kind of like compiled all of that data into this report, and then they've mapped it out by state. What was interesting to me is, I guess some of the questions they ask are just kind of like general knowledge, like what do people think about, what do they know? What do they think about gut health, about what factors? And so what I noticed was that Washington State seems to be very well informed about these things, and Maryland, not so much. Didn't shock me really, but
oh my God.
So I think one of the biggest takeaways that I got from it was what a problem E. coli is for dogs, because that was kind of the general, like 1/3 of the dogs that they test have a problem with E. coli being overly abundant. And then they had a whole special little handout about E. coli also. So I was me, I was totally nerding out at all, looking at all the maps, looking at all the surveys, reading all the stuff. Because it was when we had talked to, Dr. Holly, like we had talked about some of the trends and what do they see kind of overall. So it was cool to see how they had put all of this together.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. That is really cool. Now I have to go in to see what my state says. Because I always think that my state is very holistic, because there are a lot of holistic vets here. But I don't know if you've experienced this, that there are holistic vets, but then there are vets that call themselves holistic. And because maybe they, have learned a little bit about acupuncture, or a little bit about, or maybe they use essential oils, or basically anything that isn't traditional, they now can say that they have, the clinic has a holistic vet, and you go in there and it's like, and they're trying to convince you why your dog needs some random vaccination. And it's just like, okay,
yeah,
not what I was expecting. So I have found that, the vets that I have interacted with, it's not so much that they're holistic, but they're more open-minded than what I would expect. So like, for instance, when Apollo was stung by a wasp, and I just called a random clinic, and I was like, I'm not a patient, but this is what just happened. It's too late for me to get him anywhere. What can I do at home right now? And then what do I need to know so that if I have to rush him to emergency vet? And they were so open, and I don't know, we had this great conversation, and I was just like, they were telling me like, well, when they realized that I was open to natural things and I was familiar with it, and then they were like, okay, so this is another thing that you can do. And it was a really cool conversation that I did not expect to have. And I've had that experience so many times with veterinarians here. And then my veterinarian is just awesome. Everyone at that clinic is so amazing. I love them.
That's so good to hear. I was actually ran into a friend of mine today, and she was lamenting the fact that her like integrative veterinarian, who's at a practice right near where she lives, is actually leaving that practice to go to a more holistically based practice. That's a great office. It's just like more inconvenient for her. But she was basically saying, this is just kind of a general vet, and she's kind of the only integrative vet there. But I guess they're starting to move towards more policies and procedures that she doesn't agree, with. And so she really felt like it was time to move on. And so, there's definitely not as much access in Maryland. And, my vet doesn't even advertise herself. You kind of got to, know somebody who knows somebody, to get to her. So I feel so fortunate that we work with who we do?
I think I'm actually over on Animal Biome now because I'm just so impatient that I can't wait. Oh, but let me just tell you about how embarrassing my dog was at the vet last week. I think did I post a video of him? I think I did. And the video was tame compared to how he really was. He was truly, when people ask, because he's a husky golden mix, and people want to know, is he more husky or is he more golden? And he's like, oh, he is very much husky. I always say that he's a golden retriever when people come by, and first thing in the morning, and then when we go to bed at night, he's a golden retriever. Like when he's all cuddly and sweet. My friend has 2 goldens who are always so cuddly and sweet, and he actually does really well with them. But when we were there, he was howling and barking and yipping and doing and then and it was so funny, he would stick his nose at the bottom of the door and just do these big inhales as he's trying to sniff what's going on. And then he stopped here at the door, and then he would howl. It was so funny. And they were like just trying to get everyone in dealing with it. There was like other dogs barking, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And they're like, no, it's a husky. It's what can you do? And as we're leaving, he didn't want to leave. And by the time, I got paid and everything, he was twisted around my legs. I was somehow bent over because of how he had twisted me around. And I'm trying to leave. And this man is just standing there with his dog looking at me like, what is happening? And I just finally stopped, and I just looked around, and I was like, I am so embarrassed. And they're like, no, don't be. And I was like, this is embarrassing. And I'm like, most dogs are racing to the door trying to get out of here at the end of an appointment. This guy is like, no, I want to say hello to everybody. And it was just like so amazing. He was just so happy to be there. Aww. He was happy when they do his blood work, but he was happy today. And he did really good. But he was so loud and noisy. So I think I'm going to start making his appointments either very first thing in the morning or the last appointment of the day. Just for my own. I mean, they do so well with my dogs. Like last time I took the dog, I was like, I'm going to take the dogs in. And I think I did 3 appointments in a day, or I did 3 days in a row. I did something where I was like, got everyone in. And Zoe and Rodrigo pooped.
Oh,
I walked them. I did everything, but nope, we're going to do it right here. And
of course.
Are you kidding? And it's like, why?
Nino, he gets very anxious in the car. And so we have learned that whenever we get where we're going, we have to let him walk around a little bit because he always kind of has a post-car nervous poop. And this one day we were going to the chiropractor, and it was I think it was the first time we were at her home office, and we were like kind of rushing like to get in there, and we didn't give him time, and he totally like pooped right on her rug, and we were like, oh my god, she's never gonna let us back here.
And it's like all the veterinarians, I mean, this is what they see all day.
Right.
That's why I wanted to go, because it's like, even though his butt was healing, I still wanted to go because, they see this type of stuff all the time. And I figured it's like, she could probably look at this and tell me, is this something I should be worried about, or am I fine? And she was just sort of like, no, keep doing what you're doing. It's obviously working. She's like, it doesn't need antibiotics. She's like, if it doesn't clear up and in a couple of weeks, then, we'll look at it again. And my appointment, guess how much that cost? Over $100. It was like $105.
Of course. Just to find out, keep doing what you're doing.
Press his anal glands while I was in there. Like, sort of like to make it seem like they did something. But it was just like, gosh, going to the vet is expensive. But what's funny is that after, my experience with Scout and paying for cancer, I was just like, because they were like $100. And I was like, well, it's better than $780.
Right.
So I will pay it.
Yeah. Well, we just had a ton of lab work done with Penny. So yeah, I hear you. So the other thing I've been totally geeking out about, and it looks like Rodney's been busy, there is a new website called petfoodstudies.com, where it's like a compilation of all of the scientific research showing that fresh food diets are better for a pet's health.
Oh, I did see something about this.
And so that's part of Rodney's Pulse for Change movement. So I'll make sure we have a link in the show notes. So it's all the journal articles, all the books, publications, things in the media. So that was very exciting to see because, you know, sometimes people are like, well, show me the science. And it's like, well, here's a whole freaking website. Knock yourself out.
Thing. So we've alluded to it, but this weekend,
yes,
I'm heading down to Newport Beach, California. Well, I'm heading to San Diego to hang out with Ruby and Turk of Real Dog Box for a day and a half. And then we're driving up to Newport Beach for a one-day conference called Redefining Pet Health. And it's a pet wellness expo. So I'm really excited. It's going to be a real fun thing. And the host, Carrie Hyde, who is also the owner of like a grooming and boarding daycare type establishment.
The Spaw.
Yeah, the Spaw. We were talking about people who don't want to, like they demand, show me the science. And then you do, and then they get mad. Because, I mean, and I was telling her a story about how this woman, you know, asked me, who do you think you are? Because I made a comment about maybe people would trust veterinarians more if they didn't insist that we feed a diet that we know is counterproductive to their health. And so in this conversation, it was about encouraging pet parents to feed kibble when their dog has been diagnosed with cancer. And so she was just like, who the hell do you think you are to say that? You're not even a veterinarian. I'm like, you're absolutely right. But here are some articles by veterinarians. Here are some studies, just human studies that are talking about carbs and cancer. And so I'm sending her because she's like, you know, where does this come from? And I'm sending it to her. And instead of like, oh, look at that. You aren't just pulling this out of your butt. No, she said that I was bullying her and attacking her. And I was the reason for the division in the United States. And I'm like, really? Am I? Is it me? Okay. But it was funny because Carrie, I mean, she's so brilliant and she just had some really great insight. And she was just sort of like, she's like, people that do that don't care. She's like, not interested in the science or they're not asking you that because they really want to have this information. She's like, if they've come out of left field to be combative, they just want to be combative. They're not actually trying to have a conversation, you know? So like, I mean, yeah, it's still worth it because maybe, just maybe you might be surprised. And I've been surprised by people, but for the most part, that's what the response is like, how dare you attack me? And it's like, all right.
How dare you attack me by showing me provable information that says that I'm wrong.
Well, and I thought of you because one of the things at the conference that one of the sessions is going to be like, one thing is because Rita Hogan, who is the canine herbalist, she's going to be there and they're going to have centerpieces with herbs. Oh. And they're going to have giveaways where people can win the centerpiece of these herbs that they can give to their dogs.
That's cool.
So that's cool. But there is going to be someone who's going to talk about foods that we really need to stop feeding our dogs, and not talking about kibble, but the fresh foods that we should stay away from and why. So like almonds and spinach, because they are treated with chemicals. And it's like, unless you really know your source and know how it's raised, you're either better off making it yourself, like growing it yourself, or just eliminating it from the diet. And so I'm really excited about that conversation.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be really
I know. I have such FOMO about having to miss this. And I'm going to my cousin's bridal shower on Saturday, and like a guy walking through the grocery store on a Sunday with his wife checking the football scores, I'm totally going to be glued to my phone checking all of the updates from this conference.
I know. I will send you links as I learn things. I'll be like, check out this site. You're going to love this. I'm like really excited to go now. I wasn't actually all the way up until 2 days ago. I guess it was Sunday when she and I were talking. I was not excited to go. I was
just because it's so hard to leave home.
It is. It's like, and I was worried about the dogs because like Apollo is my shadow. And I mean, all the dogs are usually with me. I mean, I have 2 of them in the room right? Nope, all 3 of them are in here. But the dogs are always with me, and I do so much for the dogs. We have a whole routine. And I was just like, are they going to be okay? And at first I was like, of course they're going to be okay. Dogs adapt. Maybe the first day they'll be confused because they're like, where is she? Why is he making our food? Is he even doing it right? Do you know what you're doing, mister? It's like, excuse me, sir. And so there's that, but they'll adapt and adjust, and I'll be back before you know it. But it wasn't until Johan was like, what's going to happen? They're just going to be crying and barking and looking for you. They're going to be freaking out. And what's going to happen? And then he was like, when I was starting to settle down, he got my anxiety right back up again. So,
thanks, Johan.
But he was like, no, but I want you to have a good time and I want you to go and have fun. Cause I haven't gone anywhere since 2019.
Yeah.
So this will be my first trip since the pandemic, but I'm excited to go. I think it'll be fun. I'm really excited to go to Real Dog Box, and I have a video planned, and I'm so excited. So I'm going to take a video of some of the stuff that I have here of theirs, and then I'm going to have it transition to a video of all the stuff there.
Oh, wow.
And then transition to whatever I snuck into my suitcase. I'm not going to steal from them, but, I'm hoping to come home with a bunch of goodies. Not too many, because I'm only bringing a carry-on because I'm terrified that the airport will lose my luggage.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that, and seeing, because I've watched their videos on Instagram, and their building is insane. And hey, dude, Apollo. But so I'm really excited to go down there and see that. And so we're going to hang out at Real Dog Box on Friday, and then Newport Beach Saturday and Sunday, and then home I come. And then I have Monday and Tuesday off to just sit at home.
Well, that's awesome. And we'll have next week's episode will be everything that you learned. So I'm very excited.
We'll have a reverse.
Yes.
Hopefully I'll come home with like a goodie bag.
Yes.
That I can show you.
Yes. Do a show and tell.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And have you gotten your goodie bag yet?
Yes, from Do No Harm. Yes, I did a whole video about it. Penny and Nino helped me. It was great.
I'll have to go find it. It was so much fun.
That was a great conference. That was a great day of learning. I'm excited to get all the recordings, because like sometimes I would just be so in the moment that it wasn't like occurring to me, oh, I should write this down.
Yeah. They sent me a link to the recordings, which I so appreciate. We lost power that day.
Oh no.
Right when it was starting.
Oh my God.
It was so weird. I was sitting down. I was gotten everything set up. It was, Angela was talking, and all of a sudden, that sound of everything shutting down. And since it was light outside, I'm always confused. I'm just sort of like, huh. And I'm just sitting there. And it's like, the power is out. And then of course you forget, it's sort of like when you hurt your back and then you forget how much you use your back for. And it's like, I kept turning, like I was just
trying to pull it on.
I know. I was like, well, I guess, I won't be able to do that. So, and I think I had washed my hair that morning. So I was like, oh, well, I'll go and get my diffuser and dry my curls. And I put the blow dryer in.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah. And I kept doing all these things where it's like, oh yeah, no power. But someone hit and knocked down a power pole.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it was, and it was also the day where Apollo had his vet appointment. So I got him set up, and I was about to go down the hill, saw all the lights and everything. I was like, okay, turn around, and went up the hill, and then hoped that the power would be back by the time I got home. It was not.
Oh, geez.
But it kept like, we have a generator. So I just turned on the generator, and at first it was the power and internet. They got the internet pretty fast. And so once the internet came back, I was able to start watching, but it was sort of like kind of
spotty.
In and out. Yeah. So I finally just gave up and decided it's like, I'll just catch up when they send the recordings.
Yeah, that was a great day. And you have a summit coming up too, right?
Yes. The Raw Food Summit hosted by Dr. Ian Billinghurst. I'm really excited about that, because there's a lot of, what I'm most excited about is his session, where he's going to be talking about kind of like the origins of, feeding our dogs. I think that that's going to be really exciting and fun. But, it's like every time I look at the speaker list, I get so excited because it's Dr. Connor Brady, it's Dr. Nick Thompson, and, Judy Morgan? Yeah, Judy Morgan. I mean, there's all these people who will be speaking, Julianne from Adored Beast Apothecary. It's going to be so much fun. And, there's someone that's going to be covering gut health, which, that's right up my alley. But I think it's going to be a lot of really interesting topics to cover. And I have my own session.
Yes.
I came in, someone had to cancel. And so they had this open block, and I'm actually participating because Dr. Morgan has a summit coming up, and I was invited to speak on that one. So I just used the same slides, changed the words, and came up with a new topic. So I'm talking about, transitioning, to raw and like the things that you need to look out for.
Awesome.
But there's someone that's talking about like how to move past like the risks that people warn you about. And I think that that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned. I'd be really interested to see what she has to say. Because it's kind of cool when you talk to someone and they'll introduce something that you never really thought of before. And so I'm just really excited about that.
And just, you see so many people worried about that. It's just great to have more information to send them to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of great nerdy dog stuff coming up.
Well, that's just it. It's like this pet summit place, they're doing like these summits, I think probably
every month, I think.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool. They're working on a cancer one coming up. Mm-hmm. And I actually connected them with Peter, and I cannot say Peter's last name.
Shankarelli?
Is that because it doesn't sound like it's supposed to, and I make it way more complicated. And so I'm not going to say it because it would be too embarrassing, but because I think I'm adding more syllables and it's just too much. But what is it? Allie's
Crew. Yeah. I had him on Believe in Dog podcast last year.
Yeah. I connected him with the Pet Summit guy because I was just like, whether he hosts it or because I think they're reaching out to Dr. Kendra Pope to do it.
Oh, she'd be fabulous.
Yeah. And I was just like, I just told the guys, like, I really need you to connect with Peter because recently Peter and I joined Scott on a live.
Yeah.
And Peter, like when it was over, it felt like, I feel like we failed the audience with the title because it was more of it felt to me like a therapy session of, when Peter was saying so many things. And when it was over, I reached out to him and just said, thank you so much. I like felt so much better about the choices that I made and the journey that I had. And it was just somehow that conversation got me over a hump with losing Scout.
He's fabulous. And everything that he did with Allie was just, and he did such a good job bringing everybody else in. And he's fabulous.
I had no idea. He told these stories that were so amazing and just so beautiful. And it was just, it was so cool. Just,
he's a special guy.
Yeah. So I was like, if you're going to do this, you have to have Peter because he's on my cancer page as a resource, even though I'm not a member of the group. I just think that every time someone reaches out to me about cancer, and I'm getting emails like 2 or 3 times a week where I just tell them 3 things is, 1, stop crying. Save the tears until your dog is gone, celebrate every single day that you have because, and I just explain it's like you will kick yourself if your dog dies and you spent half or most of that time mourning them before they were gone. And I was like, join this group. Because I used to tell people, oh, be sure to switch to raw. But now I just don't even do that because it's more complicated than just switch to raw. Because if the dog won't eat, and if your dog is only given like a couple of weeks and your dog isn't really eating, then feed your dog whatever your dog wants to eat.
Right.
Let your dog do whatever the hell they want to do. I'm not going to do this magic Hail Mary with raw food. But so that was a lot of fun. I hope to do something like that again. We should have Peter on this podcast.
Oh, yes, I'd love to.
It's fall.
OMG. I'm cold. I had to put the heavy comforter out on the bed. I had to turn my headlights on when I leave work. It's terrible.
Oh no, we have 77 degrees today.
Oh, it was probably warmer there than here today because, like, the day it hit fall, like, I was already freezing. I've been freezing ever since. I had to get my fleece pajama pants out. Penny's back under the covers. Like,
yeah, it'll be 67 tomorrow. I think we'll have a few days in the upper 60s, and then it'll go to the mid 70s, and then I don't know what's happening after that. But I'm excited because California won't be too hot, so I can still bring my normal Pacific Northwest summer clothes down there. They're having fall too. I guess it's their fall would be our summer. But
and we're supposed to get like the remnants of this hurricane this weekend.
Yeah. My friend's down in Florida, and so it's going to hit. She says it's going to hit there like Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. Do you have like an emergency kit for your dogs?
So I have I'll put it this way. I have a first aid kit, but I don't have like a prepared bug out bag kind of thing for them.
We got a text message a couple weeks ago that basically said, grab your pets and go, get out now. This is not a joke, go. And I'm looking at my text and he's like across the yard looking at his phone. And I'm like, did you get this text message? And I'm freaking out because it didn't feel like, because I'm looking around and no one's crying or screaming. I don't hear sirens. So it's just sort of like, and they said an area that I'm not even familiar with.
Was this for wildfires?
Mm-hmm. And he was like, this isn't us. And so it was like, okay. And then we got a text message like 40 minutes later that said, disregard, you guys weren't supposed to get that. So it's like, okay. But it was one of those where I told him, it's like, we need to create a kit so that if something happens and we need to throw the dogs in the car, we can just grab a tote and throw it in there. So that is my goal before the end of the year, is to create a tote that has everything that they'll need.
That's a really good idea. Yeah. I have friends that live in Southwest Florida, and they had booked it over the weekend, and, you know, we're heading more up north, and, you know, her dog is older now and grumpy and doesn't like traveling. And, you know, she's was telling me all of their travels so far. And
I could not imagine. I mean, it's just, and what's so funny is I talked to my girlfriend and she just takes it in stride. She's like, oh yeah, I was out today picking up everything that can fly away.
Yeah.
You know, picking it up, putting it down, putting it in the garage, you know, and cleaning everything up in anticipation. And I guess, you know, their homes are built for this type of thing. I mean, we get a heavy windstorm and it's just, you know, I don't know what the highest, you know, mile per hour of the winds are, but anything that's going to knock a tree down or take our power out. I think the worst we had is we didn't have power for a week, twice in the past few years. And even that was several years ago when that happened. But again, we have a generator.
We got hit by Hurricane Sandy, which was probably about 10 years ago now. And that's probably the worst that we've had. Like, I think we lost power here for like 2 or 3 days. And so we've lived in our house for 18 years now. So like, that's the worst, you know, thing that's kind of ever happened.
I was like so proud of myself for getting it started and stuff. My neighbors are so awesome because, you know, they take such good care of me because they knew Johan was working. So I got a text message that said, you know, because they're like, if you have to leave and because they shut down our hill and they had police on both ends, like, no, you can't go. And they were like, if you need to get back on the hill, call us and we'll get you back up onto the hill. And they were like, and if you need help getting the generator started, you know, call us and we'll come over and get it started for you. And I was just like, thank you so much. But it's like, no, I can do this. And I just went to YouTube. Someone actually sent me a message saying, we just got a generator and we have no idea how to get it started. Help. And I was just like, YouTube is a magical place.
All the things. So the other thing I wanted to ask you about is the YuMove supplement, because I am doing this, you know, kind of arthritis support with Penny, and I want to hear all about this.
Oh my gosh. I wish I had the ingredients. I know I can bring it up and get the ingredients for you. My friend Kathy, her dog, her senior dog, Harley, the veterinarian recommended this for her dog. And so she was just like, I'm going to start doing CBD oil. And he was like, that's great. However, CBD oil basically just blocks, or, somewhat blocks the pain receptors. It's really not going to help rebuild the system. And so with YuMove, it's so scientifically proven to show a visible difference to joint mobility in older dogs in just 6 weeks. We saw a difference in 48 hours, and so did she,
Wow.
and it's still been really good. He doesn't like it. I mean, Rodrigo's just weird and picky. It's not that it tastes bad. He's just like, some days he'll take it like a treat, and some days he's like, no, I don't want that. So I hide it in his food, or the easiest thing is just to take a big glump of food and just mesh it in there, and he'll just eat it. And that's what I do before I set his bowl down. I take some of his food and just put it into my hand, and he eats it out of his hand with the pills in it. But he's doing so much better. We saw like his, there was a day where he wasn't putting weight on one of his legs, and I was trying to like massage the area, and he was like whining and it hurt. And so I was like, I'm just going to leave you alone. And then there were some times when he would just collapse, like his back legs would fall. And we were just sort of like, now on the heels of losing Scout, we're just sort of like, are we about to have to put our old guy down? And no, he's perfectly fine. But yeah, it has, all the normal things that are supposed to be in it: the green lip mussel, the glucosamine, the manganese, what is it? Hyaluronic acid.
Yeah.
And, and I just have to I'm giving him 3 a day. He just needs to have 2 a day, but I figure I would start at 3 a day just to get him into it, and then I'll back it down. And I actually ordered, is it 2 or 3? I ordered a sample, and the sample was just a whole bottle. I thought it was going to be like a little bag. It was a whole bottle. And then I ordered 2 because there was either a buy one, get one free sale or something was going on, that I went ahead and did that. And now I got an email where it's like, if you set up a recording order, we'll take 50% off of your first. And I was like, yes, here's some more money, YuMove. So now we have it just coming on, and they like look at, how much your dog's weight is and everything, and they set it up. So I think it's every 8 weeks I'll get another bottle of it. But yeah, he's doing really good on it. And
that's awesome.
I'm really excited about it. But what was so cool about it is Kathy's veterinarian, they're not really holistic. They're not holistic veterinarians, but they were really excited about this product because of the ingredients and, that it's more on the natural side. And they were just like, let's give this a try, because her dog experienced the same thing with weakness and, slowing down, not wanting to go on long walks. Rigo is still, he's still doing the same thing. I'm trying to keep him from going crazy. But yeah, he's been running around, and I'm just like, slow down, old man. And in fact, the other day, what was it? What was happening? Oh yeah, someone was walking their dog on the trail, and they were like, oh, there's a dog, bark, bark, bark. And Rigo starts running, and I yell at Apollo to knock it off and get back. I was like, you get back up here. And so Apollo turns around, and I just turned to Rigo and I was like, I don't know what you were doing, old man. You have no business running anywhere. But now, yeah, he's keeping up with the dogs, and he's more active, and he's feeling good. And he's been on it for, I think it's been a week now, a week and a half. Wow. And he's still doing really good. So I'm definitely, excited about it. It's on Amazon. But ever since, we learned that there's this one joint supplement where the company is like, we don't sell our products on Amazon, though that's not real, that I'm kind of scared to buy certain supplements from Amazon unless I know for a fact that the company is either they or one of their distributors is setting it up. So I just buy it through their website, and they have plenty of sales. So I think a bottle is maybe $40.
Okay.
It's crazy expensive. Yeah. Well, a one-time purchase, $48.99. But if you subscribe, they knock it down by 30%. which is awesome. So it's like $34.09, and there's 120 tablets in the bottle. So it's a really good price.
That's great. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check this out. I did get my new order of the elk velvet antler for Penny.
Yeah.
That's something that when our old gal Kalua had blown both of her CCLs, when we started her on the elk velvet antler, it was like night and day difference, like within a very short period of time. So I've always really loved that one, but I'm definitely open to trying more things.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's also nice to have like a backup plan. It's like with my mushrooms, I have mushrooms from 3 different companies that I alternate with my dog's diet. And that way, if I run out of one, I still have these other ones. Or if a company closes, or if their prices skyrocket, I don't know, anything. If their formulation changes, I'm not, completely, out of the hooks, but yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm still doing WinPro. So Zoe, since even though it's hard to tell, she's a senior girl, but she just doesn't, she's perfectly fine, but she gets WinPro, and so does Apollo. I mean, he's going to be 4 years old in January. So they get WinPro, and then Rodrigo's on the YuMove. And usually I give him a WinPro because I'm giving it to the other ones. And he's standing there like, what about me?
So, the other thing that we have, I don't think I've talked about this on here, but we have an infrared pad. It's like an infrared heating pad that we use, and I can put a link in the show notes if anybody wants to see what this looks like. It's actually a company for horses, but I just buy like the smaller one so you can use it on the dogs. And I use it for my own back and neck pain also, and it's a huge help. And so like Penny came to work with me yesterday, and at my building, it's an older building. It was actually built in like 1809 or something. And the staircase is kind of steep. And of course, she wants to follow me every time I go upstairs, and that the upstairs is where like the bathroom and the kitchen area is. So she's always following me up there. And I know that those stairs are so hard on her. So like when we got home last night, I did the infrared on like, both of her hips, both of her shoulders, and then I do them on my low back too, usually. But I love that thing so much. It's one of the best purchases I've ever made.
It's funny because I hear mixed things about those products, because some people say, oh, they don't work, and other people swear by them. We have like a red laser thing somewhere in this house. I think we have 2 of them because I had them when we had Sydney, and she had her partial cruciate tears, and I used them on her. And I only got them as a like between appointments, because she would go and have the big one done at the vet. But I don't know where they are. And I know I need to look for them because they weren't cheap. They're somewhere in this house. But I'll figure it out. Yeah,
I just keep ours on we have like a nightstand next to the bed, and it's kind of on the bottom of the nightstand because it's like I'm always pulling it in and out.
I have a massage pad. It's kind of like a heating pad, but it's a massage pad that I can't remember what it's called, but it's that thing where you put money into it and you can use it to pay for prescriptions and
HSA or
yes, that's exactly it. And so I had in 2020, I had a huge balance. I hadn't been using it, but I had a huge balance that was going to expire. So they have a store, and I went to the store, and I'm just adding stuff to the shopping cart. But since it was the pandemic, we got stocked up on thermometers, on cold medicine, on flu medicine, like Band-Aids. I mean, all these things. But then I got this pad, and I love it so much because they say that like for my back pain, I just lay on the floor with my feet straight up. But when I want to get fancy, I'll plug the pad in and I'll lay on that, and it massages my back while I have my feet up, and I'll just read a book while my cat walks around my head meowing. It's a kind of a routine. We like it. But I've never tried it with my dogs. I don't know if they would be interested, but I do want to take Rodrigo. I'm going to call Scout's holistic vet and get Rodrigo on the calendar for acupuncture, because I think that I'm still I wish that there was like a chiropractic person here. That's one thing I loved about the Do No Harm event, is that session where she was talking, because I'm sitting here and, probably like I'm just walking around. I have it up. I turn the volume up and I'm doing things. And then she would say something and I'm like, what? Chiropractic I need to look more into this because I used to take Sydney in for adjustments, but her vet moved to Arizona. But it's amazing, like all these things that are connected. I want to go and get adjustments to see what it would do for me.
Oh, I love it.
Because a lot of the stuff she was talking about, I thought, no, you go and get acupuncture for that. But it's like, no, there's some benefits to chiropractic work. So I want to see if I can find a place because I think Rodrigo can use an adjustment in his back end and along his back and his hips.
Yeah, my dogs and I have the same chiropractor because she treats people and animals. And she was actually Penny's chiropractor before she was mine.
How did she get into treating animals? Did she start with people and then?
Yeah. She started with people, and she actually had a friend who had a dachshund. And of course, they are very prone to spinal issues. Mm-hmm. And so her friend was like, oh, is there anything I can do to kind of help him? And she would just start like massaging him and, and like just doing some simple things on him improved his mobility so much. And she's just such a huge animal lover that she then decided to go back to school, to get certified for animals also. And I mean, she works on horses and cows and, all kinds of things. Yeah. She has some cool pictures on her Facebook.
That is so cool. I love it. Yeah. I wish I could. I just wish we had more of that here. I mean, it's one of those, we have a new vet clinic opening up and I've been like, every time I drive by, I'm looking to see, are they open yet? Because I want to go in and get a pamphlet or something to find out what they'll offer. And I'm praying that it's not another traditional vet because it's sort of like, yeah, we have plenty of those. We don't need any more. I mean, well, we probably do, but I really want to have someone that has all of the extra stuff, so I don't have to drive, an hour to Seattle to get my dog's treatment.
Yeah, it's probably about an hour for us to get to our vet, and also about an hour to get to the chiropractor. They actually live right near each other, and they know each other.
It's just like, it's so hard, but you want to get something that's going to do, and it works. I mean, it's one of those where, if it didn't work, I wouldn't do these things, but I'm crossing my fingers that when they open up, I should probably just Google them. Maybe they have a website already up and find out what they offer. Cause man, if they're a clinic that offers acupuncture and I'm going to be on their calendar, I don't care about your open house. I need an appointment. I need it to be a standing appointment. I will be happy to be there at 8 a.m, even though I am so not a morning person. As long as you don't expect some scintillating conversation from me, we'll be good to go.
Anything else?
I want to talk about these new tools that Susan Thixton has.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even know. I sometimes feel like, where the heck have I been? But this kind of cool thing where it's like, what's this ingredient? I really like it. I mean, even though it's not something that I have to look into really with my dogs, but I'm really interested in the carb calculator.
Yeah. Yeah. Susan Thixton has some great new tools on her website, and especially for anybody that's feeding, a kibble, or maybe you have a friend that's feeding kibble and you want them to know what's in the kibble. this really explains the what's in my food one. Yeah. Really explains it.
Like, here we go. So fish meal. The AFCO FDA definition of fish meal is not defined to any specific type of fish. Any fish is allowed. Meal in this instant applies to the fish. Fish parts were dried prior to the manufacture of the pet food. There is no restrictions requirements to how product is dried. The ingredients can contain whole fish or fish cuttings or a combination of both. It's like, fish meal is a feed grade ingredient. But it's so interesting because I would be curious to look at a product that has fish meal in it, but see like what on the bag they should.
What the photo looks, right?
A trout or a big salmon, but
right?
No, it's fish meal, and actually it may not be trout or salmon. So it would be really curious because, yes, I was one of those people that looked at the bag and was like, look at all these great things that are in here, not understanding that was just marketing.
Right. And yeah, and feed grade means not at all human grade.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then also when it says that, there's no rule on how they dry it, who knows if this has any nutritional value whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm really curious, they come up with all of this stuff and then they have the vitamin pack. are they just throwing dead food together to make kibble and then putting this vitamin pack in it? That's what's actually meeting our dog's nutritional needs. And it's crazy.
That's what I think.
That after, close to 10 years, I'm just asking that question today, where this is just absolutely no value whatsoever. I mean, I know it's not all kibble companies, but it is kind of, it gives me pause when I think of like, Stella and Chewy's and The Honest Kitchen took a lot of crap when they came out with their own kibble, because it was just sort of like, why? But when you look at what's out there, if for people who kibble is just what it is, it would be nice to be able to have kibble from a brand that is making human grade food for dogs. So maybe you'll have a better shot with their kibble than something random.
Well, it's funny you say that. I just saw somebody's post on, social media today that they're evacuating from the hurricane with their dog, and, they don't know where they're going to end up. And she had to buy some kind of kibble because, she doesn't know when she's going to have power or refrigeration or, all these things. So, yeah, I mean, when you're in a situation like that, like, yeah, it's good to have a backup plan or something like that.
We have 2 huge bags of kibble that we've had for 2 years. I don't know how long kibble lasts, so hopefully it lasts for 2 years because we still have it. But I got it in 2020 because I wasn't sure what was happening with the pandemic. And my worry, it wasn't about power outages. It was worried about the supply chain and that I would lose access to a lot of the foods that I feed to my dogs. And so I wanted something as a backup. And I was at a loss, and I went to a local pet store, Earthwise Pet in Marysville, and just was like, I told the manager, her name is Amy. She's no longer there, but Amy, she just looked at me and I was just like, I have to buy kibble because I don't know what's going to happen. And she just thought it was so funny because she was like, you look so lost. And I was like, I don't know what to do, because this was on the tail end of all the DCM stuff. So it's like, we didn't know what to believe, what not to believe. I knew that Rodrigo couldn't do grains, so it was better for us to do grain free.
Penny can't do legumes at all.
Oh,
which is all the like chickpea, lentil kind of, that's in everything now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's so hard. And I honestly don't even remember the name of the brand. And I'm ultimately going to end up donating it. But my first plan was to go and just buy a bunch of freeze-dried food. And actually over the past couple of years, I've slowly stocked up on small batch freeze-dried. Mm-hmm. So that's my backup plan now. But I was going to just buy, I just figured, I'll buy 5 or 6 bags of freeze-dried raw. And wow, expensive. And the amount you have to feed your dog, like this bag that's, $85 was going to last a week with my dog. So it was just like, who can afford this? And so that's why I went with the kibble. But I need to drag it out and donate it because I need the container that it's in to go for my small batch collection that I'm building. So, but we'll get there. But yay.
Yeah, I'll make sure we have a link in the show notes to both the carb counter and the ingredient chart that Susan Thixton put together. And she's just fabulous. She has so many great resources on her website.
Yeah, I think it's kind of awesome because it's like, some people have no choice but to feed these things. But at least if you're feeding it and you can just be as educated as possible, because I think that's the thing that freaks me out, is the fact that there's so much stuff out there that we think we know what it is. Like, I think that fish meal is just basically dehydrated fish where they just took all the water out. But no, that's not, because it would not occur. But, now that I have my fancy new dehydrator, when I dehydrate something for 10 to 15 hours, how nutritious is it still? And, with them, I'm sure it's not like 10 to 15 hours. I feel like they're probably dehydrating things for a week. Now I'm just being negative, but I just don't have any trust anymore. It went out the window.
I get it.
Well, the next time we chat, I will be able to tell you all about my fantastic time in sunny Southern California.
I'm so excited for you. Oh, I have such FOMO, so please enjoy.
I shall.
All right. Until next week.
Thanks for listening, guys.